Hello everyone and welcome to our live coverage of Axiom-4 Mission Crew Dragon Grace splashdown off the coast of California as Ax-4 crew mission returns back to Earth. If this is your first time here, hi, my name is Dipto Maitra, your friend and host for today's live coverage, and you are watching AstroYonder live.
Roger, 0G, and I feel fine. Capsule is turning around.
Houston, we see a nominal MECO. Welcome to space.
Hope you all are doing fine and thrilled for the Axiom-4 mission's return, which marks the fourth commercial flight for Axiom Space and the 18th crewed flight for SpaceX. Now for the reentry and the splashdown is scheduled for July 15th at 5:31 a.m. Eastern Day Time, 9:31 hours UTC. As this is a dynamic event, it can be sooner or later, but the target remains the same. Today, we are super excited bringing you the live coverage of Axiom-4 mission splashdown as the mission comes to the end phase. The Axiom-4 crew, Peggy Whitson as commander, Indian astronaut Shubhanshu Shukla as pilot, representing ISRO, Sławosz Uznański-Wiśniewski from Poland, representing European Space Agency and Polsa, along with Tibor Kapu from Hungary, representing HUNOR as mission specialist. The SpaceX Crew Dragon will not only bring the Axiom-4 crew members back to Earth, it will be returning with more than 580 pounds of cargo, including NASA hardware and all the data from over 60 experiments conducted during the Axiom-4 mission. Now we have a small request for you all. I know it's a little bit early to ask, but please consider giving this stream a like. It really helps others to discover this live coverage and to reach more space enthusiasts just like you. Would be truly grateful for that. Now just to update you all, at 5:07 a.m. Eastern Day Time, 9:07 UTC on July 14th, 2025, that is yesterday, the hatch was closed between the SpaceX Dragon spacecraft and the International Space Station in preparation for undocking, which occurred at 7:15 a.m. Eastern Day Time, 11:15 hours UTC, as the AX Crew Dragon began their 22.5-hour journey back to Earth. So far, SpaceX launched 18 crewed missions aboard its Dragon spacecraft and 70 crew members to the orbital outpost, including the ongoing Axiom-4 mission. This mission is for Axiom Space, a commercial organization marking their fourth human spaceflight with the help of NASA and SpaceX, launching the 4 crew members on board to the International Space Station. We are currently standing by for the Ax-4 Crew Dragon to have its deorbit burn and for its splashdown off the coast of San Diego. That's the trajectory on your screen of the Crew Dragon's re-entry, indicating its splashdown site. Also, Dragon's arrival will be with a brief sonic boom prior to splashing down in the Pacific Ocean, as mentioned by SpaceX. Now let's wind back and have an overview from the very inception of today's Axiom-4 mission. This mission, operated by Axiom Space in collaboration with SpaceX and NASA, brings together a diverse crew of 4, each representing significant milestones for their respective nations. Back in August 2024, Axiom Space welcomed the Ax-4 crew, led by Commander Peggy Whitson, pilot Shubhanshu Shukla from India, mission specialist Sławosz Uznański representing Poland, and Tibor Kapu from Hungary as they arrived in Houston to begin preparation for their mission. Upon arrival, they completed a thorough onboard process at Axiom's headquarters, which you can see right now on your screen. That includes reviewing mission objectives, safety protocols, facility orientation, and introduction to the mission support teams. During the first month, the team traveled to SpaceX in Hawthorne, California, where they completed suit measurement and pressurization tests. There they began familiarizing themselves with the Dragon spacecraft and Falcon 9 launch vehicle as conducting basic simulations involving orbital mechanics, spacesuit ingress, egress. By ingress and egress, I mean these are technical terms in space missions. Ingress, by that it means to getting into the suit. Egress means getting out of the suit, and this also applies with the Dragon spacecraft, which we might be hearing during the webcast that the crew is getting egressed. So it means that they are getting out of the Dragon spacecraft. So during their familiarization, they also got familiarized with microgravity procedures, emergency drills, and early mission levels scenario. Following SpaceX training, the crew participated in a series of simulation and technical exercises at NASA's Johnson Space Center. Approved by multilateral crew operational panel, their preparation included payload operations, emergency protocols, and station-specific drills, all designed to ready them for life and work aboard the International Space Station. Next, the crew traveled to European Astronaut Center in Germany, where they completed focused training in communication systems, emergency response procedures, and research operations within the Columbus Laboratory Module, that is Europe's microgravity research facility aboard the International Space Station. The crew then continued their training at JAXA's Space Center in Japan, concentrating on Japanese experiment module, also known as KIBO. Their regimen included hands-on operational procedures and module-specific system training. During this visit, they also engaged with ambassadors, embassy officials, and JAXA leaderships, underscoring the collaborative nature of this mission. Having successfully completed training across Axiom Space, SpaceX, NASA, European Space Agency, JAXA, and JAMS, the Ax-4 team was then fully prepared to live and work aboard the International Space Station. Here on your screen right now, you are seeing some of the images during their training. Also, they went through the communication training that is performed with any human space flight. Their multinational training, from spacecraft systems to microgravity research experiments, has equipped them to carry out mission objectives seamlessly when they got launched to the orbital outpost. Now, on June 8, 2025, the Crew Dragon with tail number C213, also known as Grace now, and its Falcon 9 Block 5 rocket made their way to Launch Complex 39A at NASA's Kennedy Space Center. That's when the Dragon rolled up to the pad and got hoisted vertical, ready for the action. These are some of the cool videos and images prior to the launch. Right now you can see the Falcon 9 rocket atop. It's the Crew Dragon race getting vertical at the Launch Complex 39A in Florida before their liftoff on June 8, 2025. The crew didn't stop there. Later that day only, that is on June 2025, the Ax-4 crew and SpaceX team ran a full launch day rehearsal. They went through everything from slipping into their suits to counting down, making sure that every piece of the puzzle fit together. These are some of the images of the pre-launch rehearsal day. Although at that time we didn't knew, also the crew didn't know that what things are awaiting in front of them. Moving right along, on June 9, 2025, the Falcon 9 likely had its static fire test, but when they checked things out afterward, they spotted a liquid oxygen leak, and that little hiccup turned out to be a big deal, setting off a chain of delays. As days ticked by, more delays hit. The launch didn't happen without drama though. It got pushed back 7 times, first due to the booster issue, as I mentioned, then an ISS leak, and finally some tough weather conditions. The crew stuck in quarantine ended up with one of the longest pre-launch isolation in recent spaceflight history. It's pretty sure that this mission had its share of bumps, but that's human spaceflight. Every detail's got to be perfect. Now, finally, Axiom-4 mission launched last month on June 25th, 2025 from the East Coast, right out of Launch Complex 39A at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. After stage separation, the Falcon 9 booster nailed the landing at Landing Zone 1 over at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. But the views we got during liftoff, absolutely it was worth the wait. Right after stage separation and the boost back burn on the first stage, we got some of the absolute breathtaking views during Falcon 9's ascent. And what you are seeing on your screen right now is that exact moment the boost back burn from Falcon 9 first stage blending with the second stage plume as Crew Dragon and Ax-4 crew head off towards the International Space Station. Also, this is known as Falcon 9 Nebula by some of the folks. Now, following its launch on June 25 and a journey lasting roughly around 29 hours, SpaceX Crew Dragon race with Axiom-4 crew on board successfully docked with the International Space Station at 6:31 a.m. Eastern Daytime, 10:31 hours UTC on June 26th. Followed by hatch opening at 8:14 a.m. Eastern Daytime, 12:14 hours UTC, and welcoming remarks from the crew on June 26, 2025. The orbital outpost became home to 11 crew members in total, including the 7 on board as part of ISS Expedition 73. Right now you can see Sławosz Uznański getting aboard the International Space Station, followed by Tibor Kapu. Previously, Peggy Whitson, the commander of Axiom-4 Mission, got inside, and following that, Shubhanshu Shukla, pilot of Ax-4, also got aboard the International Space Station and greeting each other. Now, before heading any further and igniting our Draco thrusters on mission details, firstly, on behalf of AstroYonder team, and our moderators, we express our heartfelt gratitude to everyone for joining us. We are truly filled up by your presence and support that inspires us to work more hard and to meet your expectations. A big thanks to our amazing YouTube community for the encouragement that keeps our mission flying as we provide you deep dive launch coverages loaded with extensive stats and thorough insights. Truly grateful to have you on board as we count down to the splashdown together. We would really appreciate it if you guys could join the chat and let us know where you are joining from. Please feel free to share any questions, suggestions, or opinion with us that will make us to improve our streams, to know you more about and your perspective as well. So please don't hesitate at all. Just bring them on. We would love to hear from you guys. Now, just a reminder, it's me only managing the launch coverages on my own. Excuse me, today is a live coverage. So if by chance we face any technical hiccups or issues, please bear with me and be tuned in. There is absolutely nothing to worry about. You won't miss out anything, and I will do my best to guide you through the upcoming stream. Now, before getting into mission details, just a quick reminder. At 5:07 a.m. Eastern Daytime, 9:07 hours UTC, the Crew Dragon hatch got closed, followed by undocking of the Crew Dragon Grace with Axiom 4 crew on board, which occurred at 7:15 a.m. Eastern Daytime, 11:15 hours UTC on July 14th, that is yesterday. And right now, the reentry and splashdown of the Crew Dragon is currently scheduled on July 15 at 2:31 a.m. Pacific Daytime, 5:31 a.m. Eastern Daytime, 9:31 hours UTC off the coast of California, to be precise, off the coast of San Diego. Now, if this stream fuels your love for space, give this stream a like. It's kind of a way of fine-tuning the trajectory of our mission to build a community with amazing space enthusiasts like you joining us right now. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell notification so that you won't miss a single live stream and launch update. Here at AstroYonder, we believe together we will build the ultimate space constellation of amazing space enthusiasts like you joining us. Would be super happy and grateful to have you with us. Now let's move on, and I know we don't need any further introduction to the crew, but let me just give a brief overview of the crew for the Axiom-4 mission. Things which are not mentioned during the introduction in any of the live stream. Leading the Axiom-4 mission is none other than spaceflight legend Peggy Whitson. She's just not an astronaut. She is a biochemist with a Bachelor of Science in Biology and Chemistry, and also holding a PhD from Rice University. And with 694 days in space under her belt, she holds the US record for most time spent in orbit by any American or any woman, and ranks 8th globally. Whitson's NASA journey kicked off back in 1986, and by 1996, she was officially an astronaut. Her first flight back in 2002 on Expedition 5 where she went on to break barriers as being the first woman to command the International Space Station. And she is the one who commanded International Space Station twice. During her 2017 mission on Expedition 51, she set what was then the record for the longest single space flight by a woman, that is 289 days. That record, since being surpassed by Artemis 2 astronaut Christina Scotch, but Whitson's achievement still stands tall. On top of that, she holds a record for the most spacewalk by a woman, that is 10 extravehicular activities, also known as EVAs, totaling over 60 hours. And worth mentioning, she is also the oldest woman ever to do a spacewalk. Her resume is stacked. She served as NASA's chief astronaut, chaired the astronaut selection board, and was the first International Space Station science officer. Back in 2018, the year she got retired from NASA, Time magazine named her one of the 100 most influential people in the world. After retiring from NASA in 2018, she joined Axiom Space as the director of human spaceflight. Back in 2023, she became the first woman to command a private space mission with Axiom 2. And with this mission, she is back in charge again for Axiom 4, overseeing the entire mission, keeping the crew safe and leading their full for like 2 weeks plus stay aboard the International Space Station, conducting 60 science experiments. Well, that worth mentioning that this is the most science experiment conducted by a private human space flight. Off duty, Whitson is all about staying active. She is into biking, weightlifting, basketball, and water skiing. Her years of International Space Station experience have been crucial in preparing the Ax-4 crew, and her calm, confident leadership is a huge part of what's driving the mission forward. I would like to welcome Marcos Antonio joining us. Also would like to welcome Lejos for tuning in. We are approximately 18 minutes, yes, about 15 minutes away from the webcast to begin. So let's just quickly get done meeting the crew. Next up, we got India's very own trailblazer Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla, taking the spotlight as the Axiom-4 mission's pilot. This 39-year-old Indian Air Force officer made history as the first Indian to step aboard the International Space Station, and it's been 40 years since an Indian last went to space, all the way back to Rakesh Sharma's legendary mission back in 1984. That's one long gap finally came to a close. Shukla's journey to space started at India's National Defense Academy, where he graduated in 2005 with Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. A year later, he was commissioned into Indian Air Force as a fighter pilot. Back in 2024, he rose to a rank of group captain with more than 2,000 flight hours logged into different kind of jets like Sukhoi 30, MiG-21, MiG-29, Jaguar, and even tactical transport aircrafts like Antonov 32 and Dornier. He is also being through cosmonaut training at Russia's Yuri Gagarin Center under ISRO's, that is Indian Space Research Organization's Gaganyaan program. That's the India's very own human spaceflight mission, which is aiming now to launch in 2026. As the pilot for Axiom-4 mission, Shukla's hands are on controls for all the critical stuffs, beginning from the launch, docking, and undocking from the International Space Station. He is fluent in English and Hindi, and this mission is widely seen as a key stepping stone towards India's Gaganyaan program. In fact, he is one of the just 4 astronauts shortlisted by Indian Space Research Organization for the Gaganyaan program. His selection for Axiom-4 follows a big 2024 agreement between ISRO and Axiom Space, signed during Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's US visit with US President Donald Trump. And it's really a smart move, giving India real hands-on spaceflight experience just before launching its own astronaut. Shukla also carried out scientific experiments in space for ISRO and other Indian academic organizations. Everything from how microbes behave in microgravity to muscle loss, crop durability, and even how screen time affects cognition up there. Some super valuable insights for India's future deep space plans. Representing Poland on Axiom-4 mission is Sławosz Uznański-Wiśniewski, as he made a history as well with this mission as Poland's first astronaut in space since 1978, ending a nearly 47 years gap. Selected from over 22,500 candidates as part of European Space Agency's 2022 astronaut reserve, his path reflects top-tier qualifications. Uznański holds a master's with honors and a diploma in engineering. Later, he went on to complete a PhD back in 2011, focusing on radiation-tolerant systems for space. His early career took off at ST Microelectronics in France, followed by a key role at CERN as a reliability expert and engineer in charge at Large Hadron Collider between 2018 and 2020. He joined European Space Agency as a project astronaut back in 2023, bringing all this experience to Axiom-4 mission. Outside science, Sławosz is an adventurer at heart, known for high altitude climbs, remote travel, and sailing. He speaks Polish, English, and French, which helps him to connect easily with the international crew. On board the International Space Station, he led 13 Polish experiments under the Ignis mission, a collaboration between Poland, European Space Agency, and Axiom Space. This includes testing AI technology in microgravity, psychological studies, muscle-free communication, radiation impact on electronics, microgravity-based navigation, and polished developed noise sensors. His work aims to strengthen Poland's role in space research and help shape the future of space hardware design. Now, rounding out with the Axiom-4 crew is 33-year-old Tibor Kapu, a mission specialist from Hungary, marking Hungary's long-awaited return to human spaceflight. Selected in May 2024 through Hungarian astronaut program, also known as HUNOR, Kapu's flight reflects the nation's growing push in space exploration. With an engineering background, Kapu earned both bachelor's and master's degree in mechanical engineering from Budapest University of Technology and Economics, focusing on polymer technology. His career spans the automotive, pharmaceutical, and logistics sectors, including work on hybrid car batteries and which includes stints in Belgium and the United States. Since 2022, he worked out at an aerospace tech firm specializing in space radiation protection. He was chosen from HUNOR from a pool of 247 candidates after a rigorous 2-year selection process. His contribution aimed to bolster Hungary's scientific profile in orbit and inspire future generation of researchers. He's been training in Houston since August 2024 with NASA, SpaceX, and Axiom team to prepare for the life aboard the International Space Station. Outside the lab, Kapu, known for his adventurous streak, he completed 37 skydives, ran 21 half marathons, and is a 2-time silver medalist in the logic-based game Tantrix at the World Junior Championship. His path from Hungary to International Space Station is a symbol of Hungary's growing investment in independent space research, separate from European Space Agency. Now, as being a part of Axiom-4 mission, Tibor carried out nearly 30 Hungarian-led experiments in biology, material science, and Earth observation, all organized under HUNOR in partnership with Axiom Space and the Hungarian Space Office. Among his key experiment is a study on how cosmic radiation affects human psychology, a project that could inform future missions to Moon or Mars, fitting into Hungary's broader ambitions in long-duration human spaceflight. Apart from all these science experiments for the individual crew members representing their country and their country-specific academic institutions, Axiom-4 crew mission also focused on some of the core experiments for the Axiom Space and its partner. And all these experiments were being carried out with the help of all of the 4 crew members apart from their specific country-wise experiments. Now it's time to welcome back the Axiom-4 crew as they wrap up their epic 18 days on board the International Space Station. Day before yesterday, on July 13, 2025, the crew gave their farewell remarks. That was a bittersweet moment as this diverse team start preparing for the undocking that occurred yesterday at 7:15 a.m. Eastern Daytime. But currently, we are standing by for a splashdown of the Crew Dragon grace at approximately 5:31 a.m. Eastern Daytime, 9:31 hours UTC. Now, if you feel we are adding value to your viewing experience, please consider giving this stream a like. It's kind of a fuel for YouTube's algorithm, bringing in more space lovers, helping rocket fans discover this stream out, and growing our community with amazing space enthusiasts like you. Also consider about smashing the subscribe button and turning on the bell notification as we are burning all the propellant to bring you detailed streams packed with stats and insights. Your support would really inspire us and to keep up with our hard work to meet your expectation. Now, while aboard the orbiting outpost, the Ax-4 crew knocked out over 60 experiments. As I mentioned, this is the highest number ever done on any private space flight to date, really pushing the edge of what's possible in space research. Among them, India's first astronaut to International Space Station, Shubhanshu Shukla, dug into fascinating studies like how plants interact with microbe in microgravity, basically figuring out how we can grow food and make oxygen on deep space missions. Another standout is the microalgae life support project. Super cool stuff that looked into how microalgae could not only recycle carbon dioxide but also produce biofuels and maybe even work as space snack, like as a meal the space overstaying in space. On the health front, the crew did not hold back either. They ran the cancer in microgravity study to see how cancer cells behave in space, hoping to spark throughout in treatments. Then there was the Astro Mental Health experiment, which brought into tools like virtual reality to explore mental health during isolation, something useful not just for astronauts but even folks in remote areas back on Earth. I think that's for me. I guess I'm also a remote isolated person. Anyways, but in it wasn't all science and no soul. It's not that case. Axiom-4 astronaut connected with students and world leaders too. Shubhanshu Shukla had a chat with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Tibor Kapu spoke with Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban, and the whole team got involved in STEAM outreach to fire up the next generation. All this while teaming up with the International Space Station's Expedition 73 crew, mixing intense research with some fun moment like enjoying shrimp cocktails in zero gravity or just grabbing some alone time gazing back at Earth from space. We are just 3 minutes away from the webcast to begin. Just let me to recap that what milestones being achieved by Axiom-4 mission are. Shubhanshu Shukla became India's second national astronaut to go to space since 1984. Sławosz Uznański, European Space Agency project astronaut, became the second Polish astronaut since 1978. Tibor Kapu got to be the second national Hungarian astronaut since 1980. And worth mentioning, Peggy Whitson commanding her second commercial human spaceflight mission, adding 18 days to her standing record for the longest cumulative time in space by an American astronaut. Now let's have a glimpse of that how crew will be coming back to Earth. First up, the Dragon autonomously undocked from the International Space Station like self-driving spaceship and perform a space station departure maneuver that gets into moving away from orbiting lab, setting the stage for trip home. Next, the Dragon does a series of orbit lowering maneuvers. Think of it like fine-tuning its flight path with some clever burns to line up with the ground track heading towards that perfect landing spot. Now comes the big move. The Dragon conducts a deorbit burn, which lasts around up to 24 minutes, currently scheduled at 1:37 a.m. Pacific time. This powerful push changes its orbit, dropping it out of space and aiming it back Earth. After the deorbit burn, the Dragon ditches its trunk, the unpressurized section, to make things safe. The flight computers jettisons it about 24 minutes ahead of the re-entry and it splashes down in the Pacific Ocean, currently scheduled at approximately 1:56 a.m. Pacific time. At 2 a.m. Pacific time, Dragon nose cone will be closed prior to its re-entry. Now here it gets things hot. The Dragon hits Earth's atmosphere, experiencing some serious heating with peak heating rates up to 1650 degrees centigrade due to atmospheric compression and ionization managed by the Dragon's Pika-X, which is phenolic impregnated carbon ablator heat shields. This slows down the Dragon's speed down by a big margin thanks to the atmosphere doing its job, preparing for a safe landing. And lastly, the Dragon's two drogue parachutes deploy at around 5.5 kilometers up, followed by 4 main parachutes at an lower altitude. This happens automatically, ensuring a gentle float down to the splashdown point. Currently scheduled at approximately 2:27 a.m. Pacific time for drogue parachute deployment, followed by 4 main parachutes deployment just after 1 minute. And the grand finale, under those 4 main parachutes, the Dragon splashes down at a velocity of approximately 24 kilometers per hour, releasing them autonomously. With that safe landing in Pacific Ocean, mission is accomplished. Currently scheduled at approximately 2:31 a.m. Pacific time. Now, I guess it's time for the webcast to begin. Let me just quickly check in. I guess it's started, and let me check it although. Yep, it started. Let me just set up the stream for you guys. So there we have it, the stream on our live coverage. They are also showing us the same thing which I was mentioning you, that how this Dragon is coming back to Earth. I'll let you guys to enjoy the stream that I'm patching in the audio for you guys. Now, just one last request. If you consider liking this stream, it really helps us to reach more space enthusiasts joining us, just like you right now joining. So please consider liking this stream. That will help this stream to reach out to more space enthusiasts.
Designed to stabilize Dragon and help begin to slow it down. Now, less than a minute after the drogue parachutes deploy, we'll then see the release of the 4 main parachutes. Now, these are the big orange and white parachutes that further slow down the spacecraft on its return home. So over the course of 3 minutes, the drogues and the mains work together to bring the vehicle's velocity from 350 miles per hour down to just about 15 miles per hour, at which point Dragon will splash down back on Earth.
And when it does, SpaceX knows exactly where Dragon is expected to land, with recovery teams pre-positioned in the area. These teams are trained to quickly make contact with the Dragon spacecraft, secure it, and then hoist it aboard the main recovery vessel. From there, teams will open up the hatch and then help the crew out of Dragon. So coming up next, as we mentioned, is the deorbit burn. This is the last time that the forward Dracos, which are the 4 thrusters located on the top of the vehicle, will ignite. The deorbit burn will place Dragon on a precise trajectory to return to the splashdown zone off the coast of California and last approximately 18 minutes.
Yeah, so we have a pretty packed day today, Jesse.
Yes.
I think other than launch, coming home.
Okay, well, just let me mention you guys that I forgot something to mention you guys that today's Dragon recovery vessel will be Shannon. Previously, they were having 2 Dragon recovery vessels in their SpaceX Dragon recovery vessel fleet, but just last month in the 3rd week, Dragon recovery vessel Megan retired after supporting her last mission, being the Crew 9 Dragon recovery operations. So currently there is only one Dragon recovery vessel, that's Shannon, supporting today's Axiom-4 mission.
Expected start of the deorbit burn, and if you look at the bottom middle of your screen, we have a new clock that will be following along with Dragon as it makes its way down to splashdown, so you can follow along with the timelines for today's mission.
Which is pretty exciting because we know this is an overnight mission for us on the Pacific coast, right? So it's going to be a little hard to see visuals sometimes because it'll be dark outside.
Yeah.
But understanding when crews coming home is going to be very important also for the crews on the ground that are going to be working to retrieve them. And we'll be covering that a bit more later as well.
Exactly. We are expecting splashdown to be approximately 2:31 a.m. Pacific time. And we, again, if you're just now joining us, the deorbit burn is expected to start in a couple of minutes, approximately at 1:37 a.m. Pacific time.
That's right.
Well, you can track down with the countdown for the Axiom-4 mission splashdown with this countdown happening at the bottom of your screen on the stream.
Off the coast of California, which I'm really excited about because we are expecting to splash down off the coast of Southern California.
Yeah.
I'm born and raised San Diego, California, so I'm really excited that Southern California gets to be able to see some of these potentially reentry burns of the Dragon spacecraft.
I know, I kind of wish we were outside right now to be able to see that ourselves, and sadly we're not, but...
And what you could see on your screen is mission control here in Hawthorne, California. This is where the Corps, who speaks with the crew the entire mission all the way through splashdown, is in this room along with all the rest of the responsible engineers monitoring this mission. They monitor the mission from the beginning, from launch, from the day of liftoff all the way to splashdown.
Yeah, and similarly in Houston, at Axiom headquarters, we have MCCA. That's Axiom's Certified Mission Control Center. You can see Axiom flight controllers, working at MCCA around the clock, same as what Jesse mentioned for mission control here in Hawthorne. We have 24/7 coverage in all of these control centers, and that's making sure that while crew's up there, we have them supported fully from the start of the mission to the end of the mission. And on a day like today, right, it's a very critical operation. We want to make sure that we're there supporting them as well. So we've got coverage all the way.
Well, meanwhile, they are talking some regular stuff, and that's not such important. Let me just mention some of the technical side of the Dragon's journey back to Earth, starting from undocking to splashdown. In a technical aspect,
Exactly right. And both those control centers.
this is a high-stake phase right now we are in, as the capsule must survive the fiery re-entry through Earth's atmosphere and land safely in the ocean. So let's break it down.
complex as that work
After
together.
undocking, Dragon
Control
spends
center
a
is,
short period,
and that does
typically
things. So over the
6
course of
to
the
12
mission,
hours
we've
for Crew
identified
Dragon,
that we have
or
to
up to
make
24
missions
hours
like
for
Axiom-4
Cargo
happen
Dragon
faster and
in lower
faster.
orbit around
And all those flight
350
controller
to
teams, they
400
go through rigorous training
kilometers.
to get to those positions, right? To be able to
During
support
this
crew
time, the
and
capsule's
to
flight
understand
computers run
what crews
health
going through
checks
so
on
that they
critical
can know
systems,
exactly
the
what's going on
heat
in that
shields,
mission.
parachutes, and
Yeah,
propulsion.
exactly.
The Draco
We are
thrusters
still waiting
perform
for
small
the
burns
orbit burn to
to
confirmation
fine-tune
do our
the
quick
orbit,
start. It should
setting
be
up the
starting any
deorbit
moment
maneuver.
now. Again, we're just waiting for the
Now
call.
we are
We
just
do expect
waiting
it to
for
last
that
approximately just under
moment
18 minutes.
where we will be having the deorbit burn.
That's right.
That's a critical
After that
step
deorbit burn, we'll then proceed into a few more dynamic
executed
operations before we
using
land.
the Draco
We'll take
thrusters
Axiom
to
from
reduce
that vertical
Dragon's
fall
velocity
separation
by
and normally
about
into nose cone
80 to
control and
100
parachute
meters per
control.
second.
So,
That's
or nose
180
cone
to
closure, sorry, and then
240,
parachute deployment.
224
Got a
miles
very
per
full day
hour.
coming up ahead after this deorbit burn.
This lowers
We
the
did get
perigee to
confirmation that the
approximately
deorbit burn
50
has begun.
kilometers,
Again, it'll last approximately
ensuring the
18 minutes,
capsule
just under 18 minutes.
will
This
enter
deorbit burn
Earth's
is the last
atmosphere
of the
at the right
former
angle.
Draco thrusters
The
were fired.
burn
Dragon
lasts
has not
around
yet entered Earth's
10 to
atmosphere. This
15
deorbit
minutes,
burn is
but
what will
today
guide
that
the
will be
rocket
extending
and
for
put us on its
18
final
minutes,
trajectory to the landing site and
which
off
is
coast
a
towards
carefully
land.
timed
Right now, our crew are
fire
using their screens
to
to keep
target
tabs
a
on the burn
splashdown
duration,
site,
Draco
typically of
thrusters
the coast
firing,
of
collecting
Florida
details
in
like
the Atlantic
determining fuel
Ocean,
spacecraft
Gulf
perigee,
of
and
Mexico, or the
how much
Pacific
distance
Ocean.
remaining until
For
deorbit burn
today is the
elimination.
Pacific Ocean of the
Dragon's
coast
flying
of
itself
San
is an
Diego,
autonomous
or
vehicle, so I'll just
also
be
you can say
asking
the
it to
coast
stay
of
strapped into the
California.
seats and keep tabs on things.
Now, as Dragon begins its descent,
Well,
it
to talk a little bit
reorients
about the Ax-4
to
mission,
a
the
trunk forward
Ax-4
attitude,
mission has really
exposing
been
its
remarkable in a
Pika
number of ways
X
from start
heat
to
shield,
finish.
which is also
And each
known
of these missions that we
as
talked about
phenolic
demonstrated the amount of teamwork that went into them, but
impregnated
they're also really
carbon
great examples of
ablator
the process of flying
to burn
and living on
to the
station.
burnt of
And each of
atmospheric
these provide
friction.
more opportunities to understand
The
how we
capsule
handle flight
enters
in low
the
Earth orbit.
atmosphere at
And
about
let's do a survey with
7.8
untested.
kilometers per second,
Yeah, let's take
that
a
is
moment to welcome me
17,500
to
miles per
introduce
hour,
our
encountering
Our mission commander
peak
is
hitting at
Peggy Whitson
up
of the
to
United States.
80 to
And
100
yeah, we don't have
kilometers,
enough
that
time
is
to cover
50 to
all
60
there is to
miles
say 'cause
altitude,
it is incredible. To
altitude,
give a few
excuse me.
highlights, Peggy,
The heat
Peggy
shields
earned
capsule
degrees
of
in biology, chemistry, and
withstanding
biochemistry. She's the first
capable
female
of
commander of the
withstanding
International
temperatures
Space
up
Station.
to
She has spent over
4,000
695
degrees
total days in
Fahrenheit,
space during which she
abilities
logged
to
60
dissipate
hours
heat,
across 10
protecting the
spaceflights.
capsule's pressurized
She is a
cabin.
two-time commander
The
for
re-entry
Axiom Space
trajectory
at the time
follows
as
a
they served in the
shallow
United
angle
States,
of
and she
about
was just
6 to
inducted
7
as a
degrees to
member of
minimize
the
the G forces,
2025 Astronaut
but the
Hall of Fame
peak
class.
the crew
Pretty
will be
incredible.
experiencing the G
And
forces
up
is
next
of
is mission
about
pilot
3 to
Shubhanshu
4
Shukla of
G,
India, whose call sign as test pilot is Shooks.
and
Shooks
slightly
represents
higher
the Indian
for
Space
crew,
Research
which is
Organization,
slightly higher for
ISRO.
the Crew
He's
Dragon,
also an
in
astronaut designate of India's
when
inaugural
the
human
Crew
spaceflight
Dragon
effort,
ascends
Gaganyaan,
back
an
to
Indian-built rocket
the
with SpaceX.
splashdown site.
He was commissioned into the
The
Indian Air
capsule's
Force flight mission
IMUs
in
and the
2006.
GPS receivers
He was
provide
chief
real-time
engineer and
navigation
captain in
data, while the
2024
flight
and has
computers
over
adjust the
2,000
attitude
hours
using
of flight
thrusters to
experience flying
maintain a
aircraft
precise angle of
including
attack.
the Sukhoi 30
This
MKI,
phase, known as
MiG-29,
the
Jaguar,
entry
Hawk,
interface,
and
lasts
Antonov
about 10
132
minutes,
flight
with plasma
preparation.
forming around the capsule,
And
temporarily
our third crew
disrupting
member is
the
mission
radio
specialist
communication, a
Sławosz
phenomenon also called as
Uznański-Wiśniewski of Hungary.
ionization
He is
blackout.
representing the
That is
European
a
Space Agency as a
expected
project
event that
astronaut coming from
happens
the
every
reserve class
time
of
a Crew
2022,
Dragon
much like
or even a
Ax-1,
Cargo Dragon
who served as
enters
mission
back to
specialist on
atmosphere.
AX-3.
Also, this
Assigned to
happens with
spacecraft,
other
Sławosz has
spacecraft that
earned his master's degree
enters
of science and
the
commerce from Łódź
Earth's
University of
atmosphere,
Technology in
carrying the
2008,
crew
Master of
or even
Science from
the cargo.
Université de Nantes, and a graduate
At around
of
18
engineering diploma
kilometers,
from
that is
Polytechnic
11 miles altitude,
in the
Dragons
same year. He
broke
also spent 2
parachutes
years
deployed.
as
These
the
two smaller
engineer in
chutes
charge of the world
stored
famous
in the nose
Large
cone slows the
Hadron
capsule from
Collider in
about
Switzerland
150
beginning in
miles per
2018.
second to 50 meters
And
per
rounding out
second.
this crew, mission specialist Tibor Kapu of Hungary,
At 6
representing the
kilometers,
Hungarian
that is
Orbit Astronaut
3.7
Program,
miles,
also
the
in Finland.
4 main
The
parachutes
program
deploy
aims to send
in a
Hungarian astronauts
staged
to the International
sequence, each with a diameter of 35 meters. The mains, made of nylon and Kevlar, reduces the descent rate to about 5 meters per second for a gentle splashdown. Well, worth mentioning that during the upcoming Crew 11 mission, the SpaceX Crew Dragon, I think that will be Endeavour. Endeavour will be equipped with the new SpaceX parachutes they recently designed.
Crew of Ax-4 Axiom Space.
Now coming back to the discussion, the nose cone, which houses the parachutes, is jettisoned
Also highlights the growing opportunities for nations
just
and
before
entities
the
around the
drogue
world to
deployment to
lean
expose
forward
the
in
chute's bay. Excuse me, not the nose cone, it's the dragon
And
trunk.
we are, again, if you're just now joining
The
us,
capsule
warp
flight
burn
computers.
has begun for the crew, and this deorbit burn lasts just under 18 minutes. So we still have about 10 more minutes to go in this burn.
So while we got this update that the deorbit burn has been initiated, we are in between the 18 minutes of deorbit burn. We are about approximately 9 minutes away from the deorbit burn's completion.
Coming up here shortly. But you know, Jesse, we were talking a little bit about that crew. I had the pleasure of meeting them a little bit before the mission, and you can really tell that this crew has taken it upon themselves to really make sure that a priority of this mission is outreach. They really want to ensure that who they are representing, the people that they're representing, are getting an opportunity to come aboard with them and understand why they're up there, understand why they're going on mission.
Now, finally, about the last phase, that is the splashdown and the recovery. Dragon splashes down in the designated recovery zone, typically within a 10-kilometer target area. For Crew Dragon, the Atlantic Ocean of Florida's coast is preferred, with sites like Daytona Beach or Cape Canaveral. Also, SpaceX is now also recovering the Crew Dragon from the West Coast as well, just like today.
I think it's great that this crew
The capsule hits the water at about 4 to 6 meters per second, with its heat shield absorbing the impact. SpaceX recovery ships equipped with cranes and medical facilities for Crew Dragon are positioned in the splashdown zone prior to the splashdown of the Crew Dragon. And for today, as I mentioned, it will be the Dragon recovery vessel Shannon.
He's carrying that on his.
For Crew Dragon, the recovery team retrieved the capsule within 30 to 60 minutes using inflatable boats to secure it and hoist it into the ship like Megan or Shannon, but currently Megan is retired. Astronauts are checked by medical personnel and the capsule is inspected for integrity. And in case of Cargo Dragon, the process is similar, but the focus is on preserving time-sensitive experiments, which are quickly transferred to shore facilities. The entire journey from undocking to splashdown takes about 6 to 24 hours for Crew Dragon and up to 36 hours for Cargo Dragon, depending on mission parameters and orbital alignment. But for today, it's a journey of 22.5 hours. The Ax-4 crew went through. Just they are about 44 minutes from the splashdown. So there we go. I just gave you a full rundown of the Dragon's undocking to splashdown.
It's really exciting to see them put that emphasis on.
Now I will let you guys to enjoy the stream, and I will join you guys in between to provide you some updates.
In the middle of your screen, where you can follow along with the timeline of.
Just before taking a break, I would once again like to request you guys to hit the like button so that this stream can reach out to more people. We would be super grateful for your kind support. Now, please sit back and enjoy the stream, and I will join you guys in a while. Once again, thanks for joining us.
And when we do see it live, I love you can actually see the little bursts of thrust. But in case we don't have any live views, you guys can follow along with that graphic in the bottom right corner. And speaking of live views, excellent inside of Dragon with our commander and pilot there. That is at the front of your screen is Commander Peggy Whitson.
And if you're looking right past Peggy Whitson as well, you can see our pilot Shubhanshu Shukla interacting with Dragon's controls there right now. But as you mentioned, Jesse, Dragon is a fully autonomous vehicle on this way home. So kind of tying back to one of the things you mentioned earlier, being able to see the thrusters firing like that, really highlights a good point. When we don't have direct camera feeds like what we just saw, we still get vehicle insight. We still get spacecraft insight. When we talked earlier about what the mission control centers are for, that allows us to get telemetry to that vehicle for ground crews to understand what is the vehicle doing, and allows us to share it with everybody here to get insight to the mission.
Yeah. Very cool. And it is, I love these odd views.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to believe that it's been 5 years since Dragon radically changed how humanity gets to space. After the space shuttle program ended in 2011, NASA astronauts primarily used the Russian Soyuz spacecraft to travel to and from the International Space Station. From 2011 to 2020, the Soyuz was the only human-capable launch vehicle available, and in December of 2010, Dragon became the first commercially built and operated spacecraft to be recovered successfully from orbit. And that mission, known as COTS-1, was the first demonstration flight for NASA's Commercial Orbital Transportation Services, or COTS program. And the purpose of COTS was to develop and demonstrate commercial sources for cargo resupply of the International Space Station. Now, fun fact, the Dragon that flew on this historic mission is currently actually hanging behind John and I in front of SpaceX Mission Control Hawthorne. And just 10 years later, in May of 2020, Demo 2 launched astronauts from U.S. soil for the first time in nearly a decade. Demo 2 was Dragon's first human spaceflight mission. The spacecraft, named Endeavour, carried NASA astronauts Doug Hurley and Bob Behnken to the International Space Station in the first orbital human spaceflight launch from the United States since the final space shuttle mission in 2011, and the first ever operated by a commercial provider. And I remember that day very well. Yeah. One of the most exciting missions, probably my favorite mission of all time, really.
Yeah, and another fun fact about Endeavour too, that was the first mission for Ax-4.
Oh,
that was the Dragon they flew on Ax-4. Exactly.
And this is a really cool view. I mentioned the graphic in the bottom right-hand corner, but you could actually see a similar graphic for the crew on board on their displays there.
Exactly right. I mean, for crew situational awareness, it's incredibly important. So even though you may not be commanding the vehicle yourself, even though it may be an autonomous flyer, having the insight to your vehicle systems is incredibly important for all crew members, let alone the pilot and the commander. So our commander, Peggy Whitson, and our pilot, Shubhanshu Shukla, are maintaining close situational awareness on the vehicle systems there, like we saw a minute ago, being able to watch thruster firings, understand where they are kind of on their mission home.
Yeah, and they are sitting inside of Dragon. They're strapped into their seats, so they can't really see what's going on the outside, but they can hear the sound of the thrusters firing. It may sound a little bit different to them than here on Earth, but it also helps them, as they're monitoring, helps them understand what's happening, what those sounds mean. So again, that they have the full awareness of everything that's happening with the spacecraft.
Exactly.
Now, alongside the NASA missions, Dragon has also flown several private missions to orbit. In September of 2021, on the Inspiration-4 mission, Dragon became the first private spacecraft to take an all-civilian crew to orbit. And the following year, Dragon flew Axiom Mission 1, the first all-private astronaut mission to the International Space Station in collaboration with Axiom Space. Now, the first of now 4 flights together with Axiom Space to take commercial crews from around the world to the International Space Station. In September of 2024, the Polaris Dawn mission delivered the first commercial spacewalk. And most recently in March, Dragon supported the From-2 and NASA Crew 10 missions. Ax-4 is Dragon's second human spaceflight mission to splash down off the coast of California after From-2 returned Dragon recovery operations to the West Coast just this past April. And from that first crew mission in May of 2020 to Axiom-4 today, Dragon has supported 18 human spaceflight missions and flown 70 crew members representing 20 countries. Overall, Dragon has flown 53 missions, carrying over 300,000 pounds of cargo to space. In the history of human spaceflight, fewer than 700 people have ever been to orbit. At SpaceX, we want to help create a future where not just hundreds of people, but thousands and ultimately millions of people can travel off Earth to live and work in space and on other planets.
Yeah, Jesse, you mentioned basically all that lineage of the Dragon spacecraft, and it's sometimes easy to get lost in the numbers. But it really does highlight how we've built, the same as what we were talking earlier for building on missions, right? We built to get where we are as a space industry with the Dragon flying, and it's allowed us to provide missions like Ax-1 up through Ax-4 together, like you mentioned, but collaboratively. And each of us, it allows each of us to play a role in these missions supporting. And so I always really love the teamwork aspect of this commercial spaceflight endeavor, and I think what you just mentioned there really highlights that.
Yeah, and just the exponential growth. It's only been 5 years since SpaceX has been a part of this in history. And it's really cool to see how much we've been able to do.
Exactly.
And we are about 30 seconds or so away from the expected ending of the deorbit burn, so we should be potentially hearing that call out, but if we don't hear the call out on the nets, we will confirm when that deorbit burn is complete.
Exactly. And like we mentioned earlier, while we're waiting on those calls, we're still able to view some of the telemetry and insight to the vehicle that we have too. So once we kind of get some awareness that the vehicle is done doing its zero burn, we should shortly hear a call after that. But at that point, it's a good reminder that those calls, the telemetry, it serves as an operational synchronization point for all of us to kind of say, a major dynamic operation has just happened. Now, how are we going to regain the situational awareness to say, okay, everybody's back on the same page so we can continue executing all of the flight procedures that we have. So.
Yeah, exactly. And we are awaiting the conclusion of the deorbit burn.
And again, after that deorbit burn ends, we'll move into claw separation, trunk separation, or trunk jettison rather. And then we'll move into nose cone closure for the rest of the mission.
Yeah, we are just in the beginning of the multiple dynamic events that we have left to bring the Ax-4 crew safely back home to planet Earth.
Exactly.
And we do have our recovery ship Shannon waiting patiently in the Pacific Ocean. We do have a targeted splashdown zone, so the crew aboard the recovery vessel is there waiting, and once they splash down into the water, we'll send a couple fast boats, and then the recovery ship vessel Shannon will meet the crew, lift the Dragon spacecraft on board to the ship, help the crew get out of Dragon, and then they'll eventually do some medical checks, make sure that they're all good.
Exactly right.
Board a helicopter and take them back to land.
Exactly right. I mean, like that is still a part of the very dynamic operations, and SpaceX and Axiom are both providing crew on the ground to provide in that work. So we have the retrieval of the crew and our Axiom.
Dragon SpaceX, deorbit burn complete and performance nominal. Trunk separation initiated.
Awesome. Great news. We heard that call out. We heard that call out that the deorbit burn has completed, which is great news. We're moving on to the next events. So at the moment, Dragon is doing a couple of things autonomously. It's isolating the thermal control system fluid loops from the radiator. This system is what will help keep the internal temperature of Dragon temperate for our crew during reentry, as it does heat up a little bit on the outside of the vehicle. Next up, we are waiting for the claw to separate. The claw connects the trunk to the spacecraft, delivers power, telemetry, and fluids, and claw sep is the first step in trunk separation. And we did hear that call out for the initiation of claw sep. So that event is now in progress. We're waiting for the conclusion of claw separation.
Nominal trunk jettison.
And all of that just happened. Claw separation as well as trunk jettison.
There we go. It's a good example of the kind of things that we're listening for on this phase of the mission. Really are back to back, and they're structured in a way that are very timelined, very expected.
Well, I just turned my mic off and I forgot. So we got those call outs for deorbit burn completion, claw separation, trunk jettison, and right now we are expecting the call out for nose cone to be closed prior to its re-entry.
About 3 minutes or so is what we are expecting. And in the background, Dragon is currently inhibiting those forward bulkhead.
Currently, the nose cone closing is scheduled at 2 a.m. Pacific time. That's nearly 3 minutes away. from now, and following that nose cone to be getting close, the Dragon will get into the re-entry phase, where that will be the most dangerous phase, you can say, as the peak heating will be reaching up to 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit, creating a plasma around the Crew Dragon spacecraft. And during that period, we will be having an expected communication loss between the ground systems with the Crew Dragon. Although there is nothing to worry, this happens with every spacecraft re-entering the Earth's atmosphere.
Peggy Whitson, our pilot Shubhanshu Shukla,
And
engaging
prior to the
following
following the re-entry of the Crew Dragon, we will be having an official confirmation of the um, from the crew that they regained the communication between the ground systems and the Crew Dragon spacecraft by the crew on board the Grace spacecraft. At 2:26 a.m. Pacific time, broke parachutes will deploy. Just after 1 minute, the main 4 parachutes will be deploying, and at 2:31 a.m. Pacific time, that's 5:31 a.m. Eastern time, we are expecting the Dragon to splash down. That's 32 minutes away from now. Right now, you can see the trajectory of the Dragon spacecraft as well as the international spacecraft, and where the Dragon will be splashing down. That's the off the coast of San Diego.
And if you've been following along SpaceX, reusability is extremely important to us. That is what nose cone closure is for. In previous Dragon designs, we used to jettison the nose cone, but being able to close the nose cone allows us to just reuse it. We actually don't necessarily need it on the re-entry, but it does protect the forward of the Dragon spacecraft during ascent, during launch, basically.
That's right. Yeah, and being able to reuse that, I think, is an incredibly important aspect of what we're trying to do as we advance these missions, right? You take every mission and you learn from it, and you say, what can I do next with it? And so being able to now close your nose cone and keep the vehicle for next time is pretty important.
Makes reusability and preparing for the next mission very easy.
Exactly. But you're right. Now, once we're closing that nose cone, we have to make sure that there's no more Draco firings that are happening, because once those Draco firings are done, we can then safely close the nose cone and prepare it for re-entry.
Again, we are waiting for nose cone closure, and it is expected to be fully closed any moment now, so we are just waiting for that confirmation. And if you're just now joining us, the crew has already completed a deorbit burn, which lasted about 18 minutes long. We had claw separation and jettison of the trunk, and nose cone closure is now in progress. Again, we're waiting for that nose cone to fully close, and then we'll begin to reorient the vehicle as it's lining up with its landing zone and prepare for re-entry through the Earth's atmosphere.
That's right, and that landing zone for today is in the Pacific Ocean. In previous Axiom missions, we've gone to the Atlantic, but for this mission, we'll be splashing off off the coast of Southern California. And at that point, once crew has landed has splashed down, rather, sorry, we'll be dispatching crews out to the crew to retrieve them, pull them aboard Shannon, our SpaceX's retrieval vessel, and at that time, ground crews will also be assessing crew, making sure they're okay, and Axiom Space personnel will also be.
Right now on your screen, you can see these 3 possible splashdown shouts were there for the Ax-4 crew splashdown, but today that's going to be happening at off the coast of San Diego.
That's right. So if you're,
We are waiting for the confirmation of the nose cone closure of the Crew Dragon Grace spacecraft.
We get good visual.
We got to see in few moments ago that still some of the Draco thrusters were firing,
And at that point, we'll be able to
but
retrieve
that we will be getting more confirmed that the nose cone is closed by seeing that bottom right hand side of your screen, those graphics for the thrusters on board the Crew Dragon. If they are all stopped, means for the time being, it means nose cone is getting closed or it got closed because nose cone closure happens just prior to the
Now we do expect that the
re-entry
nose cone
of
is
the
fully closed at this
Crew
point. We're just
Dragon
waiting for
um,
confirmation of that
in
closure.
Earth's atmosphere. And at that time, there is no need of any more Draco thrusters to fire up.
Again, the nose cone helps
And
protect
as
the
Dragon begins its
forward
descent, it
bulkhead
reorients to
thrusters.
a
It's the
trunk forward
section of
attitude,
the Dragon
exposing its
spacecraft during
Pika
ascent,
X
and
heat shield,
closing the
a phenolic
nose cone, again, just helps
impregnated
with
carbon ablator to the burnt of atmospheric friction. This is the most critical part to my personal opinion, as the capsule enters the atmosphere at about 7.8 kilometers per second, that is 17,500 miles per hour, encountering peak heating at around 80 to 100 kilometers
under 30 minutes
attitude,
from
and the heat shield
splashing down.
is
And again,
capable
you
of
have this new clock on your
withstanding
screen in the middle of the
temperatures
screen,
to
where you can see the countdown
2200
to
degrees
splashdown, which
centigrade
I
or
love, because now you can
equivalent
see
to
it is about
4000
26
degrees
minutes
Fahrenheit,
before we expect them to
ablates
splash
to
down
dissipate
in the
heat,
Pacific
protecting the
Ocean off
capsule's
the coast of San
pressurized
Diego today.
cabin.
Yeah, I think having the countdown really helps bring home that they're almost here.
Yeah.
It is time for the Ax-4 mission to come to a close, but this is just the dynamic phase of the missions that's coming to a close. There's so
Dragon, SpaceX, nose cone secured for entry.
So there we go, we got the caller. Dragon nose cone is secured now.
And great call out
It
there.
means
The
that the
cone
Dragon
is
nose
now
cone
fully
is
closed
closed for the re-entry.
What you're seeing on your screen is the core, the crew operations and resources engineer. That's who was talking with the Ax-4 crew just now.
right.
Now, once it's time for our crew to splash down back on planet Earth, they'll be heading to one of several targeted sites supported by SpaceX. Until recently, Dragon recoveries primarily occurred off the coast of Florida. This year, SpaceX moved Dragon recovery operations off the coast of California to allow Dragon to complete its deorbit before safely jettisoning the trunk over the Pacific Ocean. Ax-4 will be SpaceX's second crew mission to splash down in one of the new locations. From 2 was the first in April earlier this year. The new splashdown locations are near Los Angeles, Oceanside, and San Diego, and spreading the supported sites across multiple locations helps to maximize the return opportunities for this mission and future crews, lowering the chance that we'll have to wave off due to bad weather. So our fully equipped recovery vessel Shannon is stationed in Long Beach, California, and is currently standing by to support splashdown today.
That's right, and like you said earlier, we'll be expecting to have that splashdown right off the coast of San Diego, as you can see on your graphic there. So we take into account many different variables, including what landing sites have favorable weather, and SpaceX teams have selected the primary landing site, as we just mentioned, as San Diego. Now, there are a number of weather-related items that play into splashdown and recovery operations. Some of the more obvious factors that impact operations are rain, or chance of lightning in the recovery zone, both for the safety of the crew inside, obviously, but also for the recovery teams, as we've discussed, on the water. So we're looking for wind speeds that are less than 15 feet per second, or about 10 miles per hour.
As we just got the confirmation some moments ago that the nose cone is closed for the Dragon's re-entry. Following that confirmation, at approximately 2:27 a.m. Pacific time, broke parachutes will deploy, and I guess this is the live view of the Dragon recovery vessel Shannon waiting at the Pacific Ocean for Ax-Crew Dragon race. Previously, SpaceX were having 2 Dragon recovery vessels, Megan and Shannon, and recently in the 3rd week of June, Megan retired from SpaceX fleet of Crew Dragon vessels, and currently there is only one. That's the Shannon. We got the glimpse of Shannon waiting there at the Pacific Ocean.
Hazardous operation, as you can imagine. And any other boats interfering in the area not only increases the risk to the astronauts in the spacecraft, as well as the teams working to recover them from the water, but also to those themselves who would be going out to see it. So for the safety of the crew, as well as your own safety, we recommend you sit back from home, watch and follow along the action from your TV, as the teams who have trained extensively do this.
For final entry briefing, report when ready to copy.
Dragon's ready to copy.
Dragon, I have no deltas to the previously briefed times. The vehicle is healthy, weather is still looking good, and recovery forces are on site. Predicted comm blackout starting at 0918 Zulu and ending at 0925 Zulu. How copy?
No deltas to the timeline. Everything's healthy and weather looks good. 0918 to 0925 for the comm blackout.
That's a good readback, Dragon. And with that, I'll be looking for you to verify that tablets are secure, visors are down, and restraints are tightened no later than 150 kilometers.
Dragon copy. Welcome.
So we just heard some comms between the SpaceX mission control there at Hawthorne, California, with the commander of the Ax-4 commander, Peggy Whitson, about the Crew Dragon Grace preparing for the re-entry. Also, they mentioned about the blackout period that will be, it is a expected blackout. During that period, there will be a complete disrupt radio communication between the ground systems, ground control system to the Crew Dragon crew on board. This is also a phenomenon called ionization blackout that happens as because the Crew Dragon enters the atmosphere, creating a plasma around the vehicle.
The Axiom-4 crew spent about 35 days training inside of Dragon. Now, to prepare them for flight, our teams at SpaceX spent the last several months teaching the crew about orbital mechanics and how to live in microgravity. While this was more of a review for Peggy Whitson, for the rest of the crew, this was their first time flying on Dragon. The training program includes nearly 100 different lessons covering all aspects of the flight. The crew spent time inside of our Dragon training spacecraft to run simulations of ascent, the International Space Station rendezvous, and re-entry. And they also spent time at the launch pad in our suit-up room and working through emergency procedures that would be necessary in the unlikely event of a pad abort scenario.
And beyond those critical trainings from SpaceX for the ascent return phases of the mission, Axiom Space has facilitated a host of efforts over the last 10 months.
But worth mentioning, the re-entry trajectory follows a shallow angle of about 6 to 7 degrees to minimize the G forces experienced by the crew, which peaks at 3 to 4 G for the Crew Dragon, and slightly higher for the Crew Dragon. And the capsule's IMUs and the GPS receivers provides real-time navigation data, while the flight computers adjust the attitude using thrusters to maintain a precise angle of attack.
Operations, medical procedures, emergency situations, and media exercise.
And as I mentioned, this re-entry phase, also known as entry interface, lasts about 10 minutes, with plasma forming around the capsule, temporarily disrupting radio communication, a phenomenon called ionization blackout. And we heard that about that between the comms between the ground team at California with the
Then traveled to Japan to learn the systems of
Ax-4
the
commander
Japanese
Peggy
experiment
Whitson.
module, also known as Kibo, with hands-on training that
Currently, we are
culminated in
tracking
a
no
ground
issues
testing prototype
for the weather
certifies
out
the
there
systems
at
of
the
Kibo for their flight.
coast of
And beyond the specific
California,
requirements of each space station module,
and
the crew also
absolutely no
participates
issues
in a
with the
range of
Dragon's
efforts that would
crew
be
capsule.
phenomenal to a crew and ensure that they
Everything
were
looks
physically
nominal.
and mentally prepared for any mission scenario. So this included a week of training with the National Outdoor Leadership School, or NOLS, where the crew faced a week of kayaking against heavy winds. It also included a day in an altitude chamber to experience how their body reacts to different oxygen levels, and even included an underwater helicopter escape training simulation.
SpaceX Dragon crew has tablets secured, restraints tightened, and visors down.
SpaceX copies, crew are configured for entry. 5 minutes until predicted comm blackout. We'll see you on the other side at 0925 Zulu.
Copy 09250 on the other side of the blackout.
Okay, and good comms there from crew that they are ready
Away
and
from the
configured for their
blackout period, where they will be having the expected loss of communication between the ground system with the Crew Dragon crew on board.
So training really is at the heart of any successful mission.
We heard Peggy Whitson giving the final confirmation that they are ready for the re-entry.
Those very experienced, like Peggy Whitson, and she also did retraining with the AX-4 crew. It's important for the crew to train together, but this prepares them for any phase, any potential scenario in their mission.
Exactly right. You know, and missions like this are important milestones for everyone involved, from the crew members who fly to those that
We are getting some live views on board the Crew Dragon Grace. We can see the commander and the pilot,
This is at the heart of why we do these missions.
Shubhanshu Shukla,
For others to advance what is possible and expand what is
on board the Crew Dragon Grace, preparing for their re-entry. And during the re-entry, we won't be getting any live views, as there will be absolutely no communication between the Crew Dragon with the ground system.
And an astronaut pinning.
So we won't be having any live views of the crew. Also, we won't be having any audio communication between the ground system and the crew on board the Axiom-4 Crew Dragon Grace.
Some gardening while they were up there. So this crew maintained a very
And
full timeline, but they prepared for this.
following the re-entry, we will be having those broke parachutes deployment and the final 4 main parachutes to deploy. We are approximately 15 minutes away from the splashdown of the Crew Dragon race with AX-4 crew on board, Peggy Whitson being the commander, Shubhanshu Shukla being the AX-4 pilot, Sławosz Uznański-Wiśniewski, and Tibor Kapu being the 2 mission specialists for the Axiom-4 mission.
Check out axiomspace.com to see more.
Yeah, I love that this crew did so much outreach. 20 events in 18 days is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it's pretty
very
impressive.
impressed. Plus the 60 experiments on top of that. So
I mean, and as we discussed earlier, it was a huge priority for them to be able to conduct those outreach events for the people of their countries who may not have had a chance to talk to an astronaut to understand why are we going to space. Now they have a better understanding of that. And like
as we are getting close to the splashdown, once again we request you guys, let's celebrate this historic event for the return of the AX-4 crew getting back to Earth by
that would be so awesome.
you to consider liking this stream so that this stream can reach out to more people and to join us, and let's celebrate this event together. You can still see those Draco thrusters firing at the bottom right hand side of your screen. That will be reorienting the Crew Dragon at a shallow angle of 6 to 7 degrees to minimize the G forces during the re-entry.
about 6 to 7 minutes, and then we'll regain comms, and you'll probably hear the core after the expected blackout period time has ended, make some comms, some calls to the crew until they regain the comms and get confirmation from the crew that they can communicate with each other.
That's exactly right. You bring up a good point. An expected loss of comm, or sometimes you'll hear loss of signal, or LOS, it's an expected part of spaceflight. It is planned for. They are predictable, and mission operators or flight controllers work through that to understand when are we going to be able to have and maintain communications with the vehicle, communications with crew, and that can happen at any time during the space flight. So for this 5 minutes, right, based on the physics you discussed of the vehicle heating up, you know it's going to happen, and ground crews can predict for that and work around it. But it's a good reminder that we're waiting for those verbal cues, not just visual cues that we'll get. So we've been able to see some visual cues today of crew in their suits, but also be looking for visual cues later, right? Good parachute deploy. We're also listening though for good verbal cues. So we heard a minute ago, Commander Peggy Whitson was calling down saying that crew is in a good configuration for us to go into this period of no comms.
Yeah, and we do expect that blackout period has probably begun at this point.
Sure.
And speaking of visual cues, I've had the opportunity to talk to some of the astronauts that have flown on our Dragon spacecraft, and they've said it's kind of one of the most spectacular sights they've seen.
Really?
With different, they said it looks like sparks outside of the window, but with multiple different colors, multiple different looks of what that plasma heating up around the vehicle looks like. So they should be experiencing that right now. The Ax-4 crew still inside of the Dragon spacecraft. Again, this blackout period will last approximately 6 to 7 minutes. And again, we won't hear any comms throughout this period until the expected blackout time is complete, and then we'll start hearing comms from the core calling out to the crew.
That's right.
Also, we will be getting some live views, ground-tracking live views of the AX crew Dragon race after it will be done with its re-entry. And although that won't be much clear because it's a night time, I guess they will be having night cams to capture them. But that's a real critical view we are waiting for. And right now also we are in a critical phase where we are having an expected loss of communication between the ground teams with the Ax-4 crew on board.
On 20 missions. Pika 3.0 was developed specifically for use on Dragon as we prepared to begin flying crew with enhanced structural and thermal properties that optimize the heat shield and drove down cost and mass. The remainder of the crew Dragon spacecraft is composed primarily of a SpaceX proprietary ablative material. It's another class of thermal protection which is lighter weight versus Pika and protects the underlying composite structure during re-entry to ensure the structural capabilities are maintained. Now, while Dragon will experience temperatures well over 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit during peak re-entry conditions, the characteristics of the TPS or thermal protection systems, coupled with the EGLES environmental control and life support system in the pressurized interior, will ensure that the Ax-4 crew will stay cool and comfortable during all the phases of re-entry through splashdown with all that heat surrounding them.
Exactly right.
We are currently in a loss of expected loss of signal, not signals, communication between the ground team and the ground team and the crew on board the Ax-4 Dragon race.
For scientific discovery. The research portfolio
as the re-entry of the crew Dragon is now in progress,
from cancer biology
with peak heating reaching up to 3,000 degrees centigrade. There will be a plasma formation around the Crew Dragon race, and that will be the interfering thing between the communication between the ground systems with the crew on board the Dragon. That this expected loss of signal or communication, you can say, it will be lasting around 6 to 7 minutes, and we are getting close
Yeah, Jesse, I think
to the splashdown, just 9 minutes away from that.
An opportunity to understand
That will be 4 minutes before the splashdown. The broke parachutes will deploy, and just following 1 minute after that, the four main parachutes will be deploying to slow down the Dragon furthermore for a gentle splashdown of the coast of San Diego.
tackling so many of these problems for over 2 decades now.
Yeah.
And that research needs to continue. It needs to keep going.
I think a lot of people don't realize that some of the stuff that we have that seem very simple and common to us here on Earth actually sometimes come from the research that happens in space.
Exactly right. Exactly right. One of the things we were talking about earlier is a major aspect of long duration spaceflight is the radiation impacts. And I know for me personally, I thought one of the really interesting research topics that was or research experiments that was being conducted on orbit for Ax-4 was looking at what are the different materials and properties that we can use to protect against space radiation. So during the mission, we had a great call between Peggy.
I guess we are just about 2 minutes left into that expected loss of communication between the ground systems team with the crew on board the Crew Dragon. And there we go, we got the first live view of the Crew Dragon making its way back to Earth.
And while we are in a blackout period, this is an
also
view.
this is a good view and a healthy confirmation that the Dragon Crew Dragon is safe. You can see that streak behind the Crew Dragon. That's because of the high temperature around it's experiencing and creating a ball of plasma around it.
The crew almost back down here on Earth.
Exactly right.
We are just 7 minutes away. We are still waiting, I think, to regain the communication between the ground teams with the Crew Dragon. We will be hearing some comms.
Dragon, SpaceX, comm check.
Again, we may not hear the crew until they do get those comms back, that acquisition of signal.
Dragon, SpaceX, comm check.
SpaceX, Dragon, we have you loud and clear.
Dragon, we have you the same. Expect automated chute deployment.
So there we go. We got the comm checks. It means that the expected loss of communication periods are it's over right now. We heard the voice of the commander Peggy Whitson for the Axiom-4 mission with having a lot of energy in her voice. So that means the crew is also safe, healthy, absolutely no issues. We are just 5 minutes away, and we heard during the comms they are now preparing for the broke parachutes to deploy.
And on your screen with that great,
you can still see those.
GPS converge. Expect nominal altitude for drogue chute deploy.
Copy. Nominal GPS chute deploy.
And we're going to hear a lot of comms back and forth throughout these last 5 minutes here as the Corps will be calling out.
As I was mentioning, you can see still those Draco thrusters on board the Crew Dragon are firing, slowing down the vehicle as well as aligning it perfectly to the landing site so that they can splash down. And at the bottom left-hand side of your screen, you can see the Dragon speed decreasing rapidly and with its altitude as well.
Things like vehicle speed.
And on the right hand side, you can see the G forces experienced by the Crew Dragon right now. It's currently 1.5 Gs. That's not so much for the crew. It's just 0.5 more than what we are experiencing sitting back at our home right now. And also you can see the seats are getting to get a little vertical. so that the crew will be getting less impact to experience during the splashdown.
During re-entry.
Cruise brake.
And then they are sitting up a little bit more upright for those drogue and main parachutes to deploy.
That's right. Having them in that position helps distribute the forces correctly so that when they're experiencing that dynamic event, they're as comfortable as they can possibly be.
Yeah. We're now waiting for confirmation that the Dragon's chutes have deployed, coming up here just in under a minute or so. Just prior to the deployment of the initial drogue chutes, Dragon automatically safes the propulsion system. Dragon then deploys its drogue parachutes to stabilize and decelerate the vehicle. Then just before drogue deployment, seats automatically rotate to 26 degrees, which we just saw there, to keep the crew within acceptable G limits.
And I guess the drogue chutes, there we go, those drogue chutes deployed. This is the onboard view of the Crew Dragon Grace.
Drogue descent rate nominal.
Good healthy callouts. Drogue got deployed nominally. Now, just after 1 minute, we will be having those 4 main parachutes to deploy to further slow down the Crew Dragon's speed during its descent for a gentle splashdown off the coast of San Diego. That will be happening approximately 20 seconds from now. Also would like to welcome our moderator Angry Bird and B. Sanket Bhatt, and we got the visual confirmation that the main 4 parachutes get deployed.
And our main chutes have deployed.
Main chute descent rate nominal.
Would have the callouts again for nominal main parachutes deployment. Just 2 minutes away from the splashdown of the Ax-4 crew.
Great visual confirmation, as well as those comms that the 4 main parachutes have deployed.
So really, it's unbelievable that after 7 times this mission got delayed, we finally had the launch, successful stay aboard the International Space Station of approximately 19 days, and finally here we are, just waiting for the crew to splash down. It's unbelievable that we are getting back all the 4 crew back to Earth. Really, this mission went through a lot of what can I say, bumps, but finally everything culminates to the splashdown today. With this, it comes to an end of the mission.
600 meters.
600 meters.
And at 600 meters,
we are just 600 meters away from the splashdown site.
A lot simpler and more reliable. Provides a little bit of margin against unlikely parachute issues.
I don't know why today they are having this glitchy kind of these glitches in this views.
SpaceX copies 400 meters. Reminder to brace for splashdown.
Oh, that's a pretty cool view.
Yeah. That's right, maintaining.
And just after the splashdown, the SpaceX crew waiting in those inflatable boats, and these are the live views. We are getting some smooth now, finally, views, and you can see some lights being flashed on those parachutes being from the ground team waiting for the recovery operations.
You can see the ocean there. Dragon is about to touch down in just a few seconds here.
already the SpaceX teams are approaching, and I guess
SpaceX and Axiom support
there we
teams
go.
that will be present,
We have the
for the next
touchdown
phase of our splashdown
for
plan.
the Ax-4
At this point,
mission.
we'll be waiting for,
The crew
confirmation
successfully
of the
splashed
crews,
down off the
safely
coast
entering
of
the
San
first two
Diego.
phases of the
Currently, you
mission.
can see those
So the vehicle is recovered quickly. Let's make our assessments, and
speedboats
that's
approaching
recovery.
towards
And we
the
have splashdown of the Ax-4 crew
Crew
on planet
Dragon
Earth.
race to recover the crew on board.
SpaceX Dragon Splashdown. We are in stable 1.
SpaceX copies splashdown in stable 1. On behalf of SpaceX, welcome home.
So we got some comms between the ground teams and the
That was a great ride and the safe trip, and Grace is happy to be back.
commander Peggy Whitson
Back
with
home safely as well.
energetic vibes there. Finally, they are back home, and also good thing they are safe. Absolutely no issues. Now, this you can see some speed boats out there moving towards the Crew Dragon race.
Key system verifications are in progress. I will.
They will be verifying the Crew Dragon for the integrity, and then will be hosting the Crew Dragon on the Dragon recovery vessel. For today, it's Shannon. Previously, they were having 2 Dragon recovery vessels, Megan and Shannon, but as Megan retired just last month in its 3rd week of June, supporting her last mission was the Crew 9. Now remaining only 1 Dragon recovery vessel. That's today's supporting one, Shannon.
Issues there, so we'll pick up those main parachutes up. And once the crew deems that the spacecraft is safe, then our recovery vessel Shannon can begin to approach and begin the recovery process. So we are now eagerly waiting on recovery of our Dragon spacecraft with the Ax-4 crew. Dragon has already autonomously completed several steps to save itself following splashdown.
So for those of you just joining us, the return of Ax-4 has gone smoothly so far, and we just got great confirmation the crew has splashed down. So Dragon successfully re-entered the Earth's atmosphere, followed by deployment of its parachutes to slow the spacecraft down to a gentle 15 miles per hour. And at that point, they successfully splashed down in the Pacific Ocean at 2:31 a.m. Pacific time, off the coast of Southern California. So at this point, like you mentioned, Jesse, we are just waiting for Dragon's recovery from Shannon.
Yeah, upon detection of landing,
And we will be getting some live views of the crew getting egress. Once the Dragon will be on the Dragon recovery vessel Shannon, we will be seeing the Dragon recovery crew team opening the hatch, then slowly taking out the crew one by one.
SpaceX has 2 fast boats in the recovery fleet, which move very quickly to get to the splashdown point. And those are being followed by Shannon, the main recovery vessel, which will move into position upwind of the spacecraft. The 2 fast boats have very specific roles here in these operations.
Meanwhile, you guys enjoyed the stream. I will be joining you guys in a while. Let the Crew Dragon race to get hosted up on the Dragon recovery vessel Shannon, when we will be getting those live views of the crew getting out from the Crew Dragon, and that is the main thing we are waiting for right now. So you guys enjoyed the stream. I will join you in a while. But before going, just a request once again, please consider liking this stream so that this stream can reach out to more space enthusiasts joining us right now. So enjoy the stream, sit back, and I will join you in a while.
Dragon to be lifted into the recovery vessel. As part of the preparation for this lift, one member of the recovery team will climb on top of the spacecraft so that they can attach Dragon's hoist rings and connect the lifting lines. Now it will take us less than an hour to raise Dragon to the recovery boat and remove the crew from the spacecraft. And then after medical checkouts, the crew will return to shore by helicopter and then be flown back to Houston.
That's right. And each of these next steps are entirely dependent on the status of the crew. Axiom Space is
Dragon, SpaceX, we have pulled go for recovery personnel approach. Expect fast boats alongside in 1 minute.
Dragon copies. We'll be waiting.
And with that call from Core to Commander Peggy Whitson, you can see now the fast boat making, the two fast boats rather, making an approach to the Dragon that you see in the middle of your screen with that flashing green beacon. Now, as we mentioned, Axiom Space's Chief Medical Officer is on the main recovery ship Shannon and is ready to put eyes on this crew for the first time since they departed quarantine together. And our medical teams will be with them every step of the way home.
And it is nighttime, so we do have this infrared camera to help us see a little bit more clearly. That's the Dragon spacecraft in the middle of your screen there.
These SpaceX fast boats are now making initial contact with the Axiom-4, with the Dragon spacecraft, excuse me.
You can also see the red and green lights on Dragon, just similar to starboard and port on a ship. We have that for nights like this where it's a little bit harder to see the orientation of the vehicle, so those red and green lights help us understand which side of the vehicle and orientation that we are approaching. And it does look like they are pulling a main chute out of the water there. Again, those detach immediately as soon as the spacecraft splashes down. This helps prevent the wind from dragging the spacecraft after it's splashed down and helps keep the crew safe. But we do recover those main parachutes, keep them out of the water.
Exactly. And as we just discussed, each of these fast boats has a very specific role that they play. That is all part of, again, the operations the ground operations that support the retrieval and recovery of the spacecraft, as well as the Ax-4 crew. So all of these are part of the ground training that's required in order to pull off those operations safely and successfully. So even though we're having, splashdown at night, right, we're able to ensure that we're executing smoothly, but executing successfully. We're now looking at some additional views that we're getting in of the fast boats making their contact with the Dragon spacecraft.
And we should be seeing a crew member actually climb on board the spacecraft,
Yep.
do some final safety checks, and then help begin setting up the rigging for the spacecraft to be lifted out of the water.
That's right. It's all part of a coordination, a choreography of events, right? Getting from spacecraft is in the water. What are the next few steps that have to occur before we can get Dragon onto the recovery vessel Shannon? And this is a very key moment in that.
Yeah, and right now you can see them doing the sniffs, making sure that there's no hazardous gas or chemicals around the vehicle and that it's safe for the team to actually approach and climb onto the spacecraft. And as always, the recovery crew is wearing the PPE necessary to perform these operations. PPE is personal protective equipment.
It's a good reminder that even in this phase of the mission, we're excited crew is home, but the job's not done yet. We're taking this time to make sure that we're operating smoothly, that we're operating safely, so that we ensure a safe return for the crew on board the vessel and back home to their families and teams.
Yeah, we call conclusion of the mission when the crew egresses the spacecraft, and egress means to exit the spacecraft. Got some calm waters there, which is great.
Yes, exactly what we're looking for.
California, southern Pacific Ocean, as we splash down off the coast of San Diego today.
Dragon, SpaceX, hypergol sweeps and unfired ordnance checks are nominal. Rigging is in progress. Approximately 5 minutes until capsule lift. We have SpaceX flight surgeon standing by. Please confirm crew are ready for post-splashdown PMC.
Dragon copy go, and we are ready for post-PMC.
Copy that, Dragon. The next call you hear will be from flight surgeon on Dragon to ground private test.
And you heard those comms. The team is going to do some medical checks. They are going to do that on a private net. And that's what those comms were, confirming that they are switching the nets that they will be communicating on. And this is just to make sure that the crew is feeling okay.
Exactly right.
Through all those dynamic events. While for us watching Dragon re-enter the Earth's atmosphere from afar, there's a lot going on in that spacecraft there with the crew. So just making sure that the crew is feeling good and checking in with how they're doing.
Exactly. It's an important touch point for kind of reaching a key milestone on the return trip home. As just mentioned, it's a very dynamic phase of flight. And those private medical conferences, or PMCs, with a SpaceX flight surgeon really allow ground teams to be able to make an initial assessment of crew while the team is also, the ground teams outside are continuing to work that rigging. They mentioned it take about 25 minutes for crew to rig and then hoist the Dragon spacecraft into the recovery vessel. So while those operations are happening, crew will also be talking with ground medical personnel just to get an understanding of, hey, how's everybody doing? How are we looking forward to it?
Yeah. And they did confirm that the vehicle was safe to approach. They did some hypergol checks, and they also checked the thrusters that did not fire to make sure that there are no leaks from those thrusters. We do have Super Dracos on the vehicle in case of an abort emergency during ascent. We did not need those thrusters on this mission. And again, they are only used for the ascent portion, but we do want to make sure that throughout the mission, as the Dragon spacecraft was docked to the International Space Station for 18 days, that everything is still good and safe, again, to complete these final recovery operations. And again, it's a little dark because it's early, very early morning, but you can see the little window on Dragon and the light. Little light inside there as the crew is patiently waiting recovery operations.
It's a very different view that they're having outside that window than they had for their flight up and their flight home.
Yes.
But all the same, I'm sure that they're also glad to say, hey, we're home. If you're just joining us from home, you are seeing live views of the Dragon spacecraft that has returned home from the Axiom-4 mission. After launching on June 25th, the Axiom-4 mission...
Dragon, SpaceX, Dragon to ground is now unprivatized. Comm check.
We have you loud and clear on Dragon Go.
Copy, Dragon. We have you the same.
You can now see on the screen SpaceX support personnel beginning the rigging procedures to ensure that the Dragon spacecraft is rigged.
SpaceX, be advised, we're going to step into transitioning the forward link. Comm will be unavailable for approximately 5 minutes. Rigging continues nominally.
Dragon copies, 5 minutes. LOS.
Again, the Corps just keeping the crew updated with the operations that they're performing. They won't have comms for about 5 minutes, but rigging is continuing, as we can see there, with the recovery crew member standing on top of the spacecraft.
Yeah, working very important procedures for the next phase of the Ax-4 mission. And for those of you who've been following along since June 25th, when the Falcon 9 lifted off from Kennedy 39A, this was a pristine new Dragon. That crew had the privilege and the pleasure of naming Grace. And now that it's gone through its first mission and landed back safely in the Pacific Ocean, you can see exactly what the spacecraft goes through on its return home, but very much a sign of a successful mission.
Yeah, I love the tradition that the first crew that flies in the spacecraft get to name the spacecraft. And Peggy Whitson had some great words on why they named the spacecraft Grace,
Yeah.
Which I think is amazing. We've got a great fleet of Dragon spacecraft. And speaking of Commander Peggy Whitson, she's actually our third frequent flyer.
Yeah.
Our first frequent flyer was Michael Lopez Alegria from Axiom Space.
Yep.
Second being Jared Isaacman when he flew on the Polaris Dawn mission. And now Peggy Whitson flying for a second time on a Dragon spacecraft. At SpaceX, we're trying to make these vehicles reusable, just like aircraft when you fly and fly over again multiple times a day. And we're getting closer and closer to that with the same crew members
Exactly.
flying again, which is
Exactly.
awesome.
And it's important to note, right, that kind of mission-to-mission lineage, right, allows crew members like Peggy Whitson, like Michael Lopez Alegria, to better help inform the next crews that are coming with them, right? The more familiarity that you get with the vehicle, the better equipped you are on your mission. And I, as a personal Peggy super fan, I cannot imagine a more fitting astronaut to be able to give a name to a new vehicle. I love the messaging behind why they chose to name it Grace. And to your point, Jesse, about the frequent flyers, I loved that during launch we could see I don't know if it's a new tradition potentially, but we got to see some boarding passes that SpaceX provided to the Ax-4 crew, and because of her frequent.
Hi there everyone, myself Dipto Mitra, joining from AstroYonder team.
Was able
So right now you saw those SpaceX support team personnel getting on board the Crew Dragon Grace, securing, I think that's a kind of a rope they are tying
Yeah, I love the boarding
tightly
Again, always
on
try
board
and
the
make it
Crew Dragon.
as
and
common as
Right now you can see the recovery vessel Shannon, where this Crew Dragon will be getting hoisted up before the crew egress. That is, the crew will be getting out from the Crew Dragon,
to future
and
spacecraft.
that rope which I was mentioning, something like that, they made it, and with that the Shannon will be pulling the Crew Dragon close to itself, and
multiple flights a day.
upon that the crew personnel, crew recovery, Dragon recovery personnels will be hoisting up the Crew Dragon on board the Crew Dragon recovery vessel Shannon for today.
Training that you put into it to execute that plan, train, fly mentality, and being able to perform these missions, being able to say that Peggy has flown on multiple Dragon spacecraft at this point.
And you can see slowly Dragon is getting close to the recovery vessel Shannon. Still there is one crew recovery support personnel on board the Crew Dragon hanging out there.
All the way through Splashdown, pulling them onto the recovery vessel here for the Dragon spacecraft. And you can see on your screen both the fast boat and the recovery vessel Shannon making approach to grace our Dragon spacecraft.
I wish this could have been happening in a daytime so that we could see more good visuals for the Crew Dragon recovery. And there you can see some live views on board the Crew Dragon recovery vessel Shannon. This is called a Dragon recovery nest, kind of. And you can see kind of a pad laying out there. Just on top of that, the Dragon will be lifted and be seated and will be pulled a little closer to the inside of the Crew Dragon recovery vessel Shannon, where some additional crew recovery personnel will be waiting for opening the hatch and to help crew to egress the Crew Dragon grace. That is the main time we are waiting right now to see the crew getting out from the Crew Dragon.
Sławosz and Tibor to be able to take that knowledge back to their respective space agencies and to their countries is a huge step forward for what you just mentioned earlier about making sure that that human spaceflight as a team sport continues for everybody to understand what's going on, because now Shuks and Sławosz and Tibor have a very important distinction, and they now have a very unique perspective on what it takes for a human spaceflight mission to occur. as first time astronauts, you know, they're going to take back all that knowledge from their time on the International Space Station and be able to make huge impacts with their space agencies in their countries.
Yeah, I'm sure they learned a lot from Peggy Whitson, but also the other crew members that are currently on board the International Space Station. They got to interact with so many different people with diverse skills.
Exactly.
And 18 days is quite a long time in space. So it's
And as the Ax-4 crew are getting prepared for the egress procedure.
That's right. You know,
And also with that, this mission is coming to its end phase. And with that, a number of milestones being achieved by Ax-4 mission. Shubhanshu Shukla from representing ISRO, that is Indian Space Research Organization, became India's second national astronaut to go to space since 1984 and to become the first one to stay aboard the International Space Station. For Poland, also it's a pride moment as Sławosz Uznański, the European Space Agency project astronaut, became the second Polish astronaut since 1978. Tibor Kapu got to be the second national Hungarian astronaut since 1980. And of course, for Peggy Whitson, she commanded her second commercial human space flight mission, adding 18 days to her standing record for the longest cumulative time in space by an American astronaut.
Wonder what their comms were. I'll meet you in space.
Exactly right. I wish I had the ability to say that.
Axiom-4 mission is the second commercial space flight mission made up of government and European Space Agency sponsored national astronauts. And really, it's a proud moment for all the three countries, India, Poland, and Hungary. And with this mission and the crew's experience, it's pretty sure they will be doing some huge advancement in their country's own human spaceflight missions. Already, India is gearing up for its own human spaceflight missions named as Gaganyaan.
That's on the spacecraft gets to jump into the ocean when they're done.
Yeah.
And it's nighttime in the Pacific, so it might be a little cold.
It'll be a little chilly.
But definitely a unique part of the job.
Exactly right. And you can see all the support crew. There's just a fast boat on the screen that made its way off screen there, but you can see the number of support crew that's kind of going into supporting an operation like this. You know, it may look like it's not happening very fast, but there are a lot of steps that each of these crew members are responsible for ensuring that the Dragon spacecraft is pulled into that nest safely but smoothly, and they're working towards that now. There he goes.
Love that. Despite the freezing temperatures, it looks fun.
And he got out of the water pretty fast.
So worth mentioning, Axiom-4 mission conducted 60 science experiments up there at the orbiting outpost. And as of now, that's the highest number of science experiment conducted by any private human space flight mission. Not only the Axiom-4 mission conducted country-specific and the crew-specific science experiments, they all together got involved in various experiments for Axiom Space and its partners, and also reached out to some STEAM events. And right now you can see Dragon lifting up from the ocean, and you can see those hydraulics lifting mechanisms working there and bringing it close to the Dragon recovery vessel, and we'll be resting on that berth on your screen right now. You can see that berth laying down there.
And again, those comms, crew can't see what's happening outside of the spacecraft, so letting the crew know what's happening. So,
and once this Dragon will be sitting securely on that pad there on Dragon recovery vessel Shannon, it will be further pulled close in for those Dragon recovery personals to start the hatch opening procedure and for the crew egress procedures.
And then from there, Dragon will be translated into the hangar underneath the helipad aboard the ship so that we can then open the hatch. And once open, a SpaceX medical doctor will be the first one in to check on the crew to see if they are ready to egress out of the vehicle. And as we noted earlier, Axiom medical teams are also on the recovery vessel working in tandem with SpaceX staff to assess and assist the crew.
the astronauts will egress, or what we call exit, from Dragon's side hatch, pending spacecraft orientation in the water. Before opening the hatch, the spacecraft's cabin pressure must be equalized with the outside environment. Now, once the hatch is opened, that will be the Axiom-4 crew's first breath of fresh air since boarding Falcon 9 at the start of their mission on June 25th.
And that will be an exciting moment for the crew, I know. Before the crew and
you can see one recovery personnel checking physically that whether the Crew Dragon is resting on the berth and aligning with the position out there.
Yeah.
And with that confirmation, they will be pulling it closer to the hangar.
Welcome aboard the recovery ship. Apology for the delayed call earlier. We're still working to transition the forward link. Recovery personnel are completing their final checks, and I will let you know when we are ready for translation across the deck to the egress platform.
Now, once again, they will be detaching those ties and ropes on the Dragon, which they did some couple of moments earlier for making Crew Dragon aboard the Dragon recovery vessel Shannon. And upon completion of these operations, as I mentioned earlier, this Crew Dragon will be pulled closer to the hangar of the recovery vessel Shannon, and there will be the next step performed for hatch opening. And upon hatch opening, first the crew will be getting examined by the medical officers that whether the crew are healthy and they are ready for the egress operations. And once confirmed, then slowly the crew recovery personnel will be taking out the Axiom-4 crew members one by one, getting out from the Crew Dragon gate race. Right now, really, I'm thrilled to see all of them getting out from the Crew Dragon, as they are bringing a huge experience with them. For Peggy, I am pretty sure I guess it got normal to her that every time going to space and coming back. It's her 5th space flight, I guess, if I'm not wrong. But for all others, they were the rookie astronauts. Right now, they are having one flight, human space flight in their record for Shubhanshu Shukla, Sławosz, and Tibor.
Again, if you're just now joining us, the Dragon spacecraft has been lifted onto the recovery vessel Shannon. Now the recovery crew is safing the vehicle. They're putting some covers on the thrusters of the vehicle just to ensure, now that the spacecraft is no longer in operation, we don't need those thrusters. They did some sniff checks before they put some covers on it.
SpaceX comm check.
We have you loud and clear in Dragon.
Copy that, Dragon. We have you the same. Welcome aboard the recovery ship. We are working to troubleshoot the forward link transition. Stand by for translation across the deck. I'll let you know when we're ready for that.
Okay, copy.
How many times SpaceX teams are welcoming them? Already they welcomed them once before.
He's going to move the spacecraft towards.
But well, they perform once again a comm check between the ground teams and the crew on board the Grace spacecraft. And as we heard from the stream, right now we are seeing those team to close out those thrusters, and also you saw a Dragon recovery personnel wearing a mask, checking those thrusters as they got close as to check there is no leaking in those thrusters, as because they are no more in use, and because it's not operational anymore. And with that, now we will be pulling the Crew Dragon closer to the hangar. And next up will be the hatch opening procedure. I think we should be seeing those views just a couple of seconds from now. The Crew Dragon race is getting close to the hangar.
Whether it's the side hatch or whether it is the docking port. I love seeing the smiles on their faces.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting for them once we open this Dragon side hatch. Again, it'll be the first breath of fresh air in about 20 days for them since they boarded the Falcon 9 on launch day.
And there's an interesting distinction. You launch in the Atlantic and you splash down the Pacific. It's very different breaths of air that you're getting.
And traveled all over space for thousands of miles.
288 orbits, something like 7.6 million miles. All just to come down across the country.
Millions of miles, I should say. It's definitely a great passport to have.
It is. Maybe that could be the next memento that we can provide crew before they lift off as a passport that they can see.
I think the locations would be orbits
That'd be really cool.
outside of Earth.
Yeah.
Earth orbits, low Earth orbit. Again, next up, we are expecting the translation of the Dragon spacecraft named Grace, named by the Axiom Mission 4 crew. Again, the spacecraft will translate in preparation for hatch opening and exiting of the vehicle.
A few moments ago, Core spoke with the Ax-4 crew to let them know that this the translation will be happening soon.
Dragon, SpaceX, final checks are complete. Translation across the deck to the egress platform will begin shortly. There is a chance that we get a lot of alarms. No concern.
Dragon copy.
So we heard the comms. Now they will be, and there we go. The Dragon is getting close to the deck, or you can say the hangar, for its hatch opening coming up next.
Ocean water
You can see how
slashing down, and then we are
those
washing
marks
down
on board
hatch
the
area,
on the
again,
surface of
just
the Crew
preparing
Dragon
for
Grace
the
as
vehicle's
it
side hatch to be
entered is
opened.
endured the fiery
Getting some of that salt
heat
water off, maybe some
during
of
its
that,
re-entry.
plasma from reentry off.
Right, all nominal processes to ensure that that crew can safely egress the vehicle, but also that ground personnel are safely protected while handling the spacecraft and crew as well.
You can see those crew personnels still wearing masks because they are still checking if there are any harmful chemical or fumes or any leaks from those thrusters. Once all of this will be getting checked, and then the first step will be the hatch opening, followed by the first person to visit this Axiom 4 crew will be the medical personnel, checking whether the crew is healthy and are ready for the hatch opening, ready for the egress procedures.
For those with a keen eye as well, you can see on the side of Grace.
You can see even they are checking those hatches before opening, whether there are any kind of hazardous chemicals or elements there on those hatches, which can be developed. I think there is absolutely no issues, and they are taking off the masks.
The International Space Station. It's a little worn.
A little
but,
toasty.
A little toasty.
A little toasty.
All part of nominal ops.
3,500 degrees Fahrenheit
That'll
will
do
do
that.
Dragon, SpaceX, standby for side hatch opening and egress of some smiling faces.
Here we go.
All right, we're looking forward to it.
So we are just a couple of minutes away from the side hatch to open,
will be the medical officer.
and this person opening the hatch, I think he himself is the medical officer, or let's see whether who it is, because the first person, no, he is not. So that first person now getting inside the Dragon, talking with the crew, is the medical officer, inspecting the crew is healthy or not, and to confirm that they are ready, the crew is ready to egress. And you can see one member having a frame, kind of white frame in his hand. They will be putting it on that hatch, which is now open. That will be protecting the hatch seal for the Crew Dragon egress process.
So we are protecting both the crew as well as the spacecraft, making sure there's no damage that happens and that the crew doesn't bump their head on anything on the spacecraft.
And I guess they will be able to walk on their feet is as because it's not a long duration space human space flight mission. During approximately 6 months of stay, like a regular crew going up there aboard the International Space Station, when they are getting egressed from the Crew Dragon or any other like Soyuz spacecraft, they are not able to stand on their feet because due to the long stay aboard the International Space Station, they take a little bit of time to get familiarized with the gravity back on Earth. But as this is a small stay, I guess they will be on their feet coming back. And I'm speculating that as because they are not having those stretchers. Other times they are having those medical stretchers kind of next to the Dragon to taking those crew out.
Looks like we're getting
Some
the crew's getting
pictures
some
taken for the
horse
crew members and some videos. I think this will be getting posted by SpaceX's end.
It's a good sign that they had good initial comms with medical personnel. So this time we are now just, if you're just joining us, we're waiting for the Ax-4 crew to egress.
Now finally the Crew Dragon recovery personnels are getting inside the Crew Dragon, egressing like preparing the crew to egress one by one. And by egress I mean to exit the Crew Dragon. This term ingress and egress, you guys will be hearing them in human space flight missions. Ingress means to get inside any vehicle, like kind of a Crew Dragon or Soyuz. In case of egress, it means that to get outside of the spacecraft. And we just saw that some of the tablets and the devices the crew were having were on them. They detached them and made them out as they prepare for the egress procedures.
Looks like they just removed the footrests. Gives the crew some space to get out of their seats while they are exiting the vehicle.
So there we go, the first view out there. The crew sitting inside,
Some big smiles as people
waiting to get outside of the Crew Dragon. Thanks to this man who are having the camera and brought like showing us the view for the first time. The crew traveled for a 22.5 hour after undocking from the International Space Station yesterday. That happened at 7:15 a.m. Eastern Daytime.
Putting in aspects of I'm not going to call it rigging, but hardware to help the crew get out of the spacecraft more easily. Reminder that they've been in microgravity for a little over 20 days, and occasionally your first few steps back on Earth can be slightly challenging.
It's a little different in microgravity than dealing with the gravity here on Earth.
Unlike Soyuz, Dragon is quite spacious. That's why some recovery personals can get in and help crew to uh, come out of the Crew Dragon.
Just now
In
joining
case
us,
of
we are
Soyuz
waiting for the
recovery
AX-4
operations,
crew to exit
those of
the
you
Dragon
are following this
spacecraft race.
human spaceflight return webcast, they know that how critical it is to recover
And
the
Tibor
crew members from the Soyuz
at the end of
spacecraft.
their Axiom Mission
They
4.
literally have to like
They'll be 20 days in
hang
space,
themselves
18
half
on board
inside,
the
half
International
outside,
Space
and to
Station.
pull those
18 days.
crew outside. But in case of Dragon, it's a little bit easier.
Now, this wraps up a very significant portion of the mission, but it's not entirely over. We still have a few medical checks to go, and then in addition to that, the AX-4, all the research done on the AX-4 mission is all going to be in a world of post-processing, analysis, assessment, and that's all part of it, as well as crew debriefs. So, following after crew egresses the spacecraft and gets good medical checks, at that point we'll be getting the crew back home, and then continuing the final, we'll call it terrestrial-based operations.
Also worth mentioning, right now we are waiting for the egress of the Axiom-4 mission crew members. Also, this Dragon brought about 580 pounds of NASA hardware and all the data and equipment for all the science experiments conducted during the Axiom-4 mission stay. That's 60 experiments they conducted. And as I mentioned earlier, that is the highest count for any private human space flight mission.
And some of their aids are not too complex. That white platform that you see there is essentially a slide.
Yeah. But an important one.
A very important slide.
But in addition to that slide, we do have, there's a complex tool that you mentioned earlier.
And I guess for the first crew is getting
We can see now crew
egress.
the first crew members looking to make their egress from the spacecraft along that slide.
Sliding out.
I guess it's Peggy Whitson, the commander, and there you see her bright smile. A little she is not acquainted with Earth's gravity. That's why you can see a little bit of her walking that kind of way. But you can see the crew to be there on their feet, as because that was a 18 days of flight. During long-term stay, the crew are not able to be on their feet. They need to go to some rehabilitation process to regain their acquaintance with the Earth's gravity. So as of now, the commander of the Axiom-4 mission, Peggy Whitson, with her bright, happy smile, she got to be egress. Next up, I guess, will be the pilot, Indian astronaut Shubhanshu Shukla, representing ISRO and marking history for India to be the second astronaut, to be the second person being in space and the first one to step aboard the International Space Station. It's a really proud moment for India.
So far, we've had Commander Peggy Whitson exit the Dragon spacecraft. We are waiting for the remaining 3 crew members of the AX-4 crew. There's no real order to the egress. It's really up to the crew. So patiently waiting to see who's up next.
Right. If Peggy is in the indication, which I think she is for this particular crew, we'll see another big smile coming out of the Dragon spacecraft in a moment.
There we go. We have another crew member, Ax-4 crew member, getting out from the Crew Dragon race. Let's see who it is. I hope, yes, it's Shubhanshu Shukla, the pilot of Axiom-4 Mission.
Our pilot Shubhanshu Shukla.
As these three rookie astronauts, they are,
Smiles, as you said.
so they will be a little hesitant with this getting acquainted with the Earth's gravity, but for Peggy, I am pretty sure for her it was easy. So as of now, two Ax-4 crew members got out from the Crew Dragon race. Both the pilot, both the commander and the pilot for the Axiom-4 mission, Peggy Whitson and Shubhanshu Shukla, getting out from the Axiom-4 Crew Dragon race. Next, we have two more crew members left inside the Crew Dragon.
And leadership in space exploration.
One from Hungary, that is Tibor Kapu. Next is the Sławosz Uznański-Wiśniewski from Poland. Both are the mission specialists for Ax-4 mission. Now let's see who will be the next one, coming up with a huge smile on their face.
Now, at this time, we're waiting for the mission specialists of the Ax-4 mission, Sławosz Uznański-Wiśniewski of Poland and Tibor Kapu of Hungary, to now egress the Dragon spacecraft.
They will be once again, I think, removing the footrest before egressing the crew members. On the left, two crew members. And there we go. We have the third crew member to be getting egress.
We have our third crew
from the
egressing the vehicle.
gray spacecraft. Let's see, that's Sławosz Uznański-Wiśniewski.
Uznański-Wiśniewski of Poland.
Little again hesitant,
For this, which I love to see.
getting.
Now, Poland's participation in the AX4
He's even redirecting that whether I regained my acquaintance with the gravity.
Astronaut Sławosz Uznański-Wiśniewski, flying in partnership with the European Space Agency.
So that was the mission specialist and the third crew member to be getting egress from the Crew Dragon race, Sławosz Uznański-Wiśniewski, representing his country Poland, also representing European Space Agency and Polsa.
And its ambition to contribute meaningfully to the future of deep space travel. It also signals.
Next, only one crew member left. That's also another mission specialist for Axiom-4 mission, Tibor Kapu from Hungary, representing HUNOR. So right now you can see that stretcher. About this stretcher I was talking a little bit earlier. This kind of stretchers are needed in case of emergency for this kind of short stay aboard the International Space Station or in other space missions. But in case of long-term stay of any crew in space, these stretchers are used for egress purpose, because that time the crew are not able to be on their feet.
Final crew member Tibor to exit the spacecraft here.
There we go. Tibor Kapu sliding down.
And last but not least, mission specialist Tibor Kapu.
There we go. We have this smile from the fourth Axiom 4 crew member, Tibor Kapu. He is very much energetic. We saw him every time. He's so much talkative and describing his experience and everything, full of energy. We saw his broad smile.
This mission signifies the country's return to
So
human spaceflight
with
after
that,
decades
it
and
ends
highlights
the
its
egress
strategic
process of all
investment
the
in
four
science, technology,
Axiom
and
4 crew
innovation.
members. Really, this brings a huge milestone for all the three crew members except Peggy, because for Peggy it's her fifth human space flight. For all other three crew members, it was the first one, and as they marked a significant historic milestones for their country's space missions and space objectives as well. Axiom-4 mission astronauts made the most of their 2+ weeks in orbit, working alongside the International Space Station Expedition 73 crew. As they return back to Earth, let's give a big, huge shout out to this trailblazing team for pushing the boundaries of space research and global collaboration. Godspeed, Axiom-4. So with that, we will wrap up our coverage for now. But before that, we want to thank you for being with us on this live coverage. It's really impossible to do this broadcast without your encouragement. Please excuse me. So thank you for your continued support of what we do here at AstroYonder. We appreciate everyone joining us for the stream. Wishing you a nice week ahead. Be sure to check out with other upcoming live launch coverages, and they will be posted on time on our channel. Also check out our social media handle on X for the latest happenings in space industry and updates on upcoming launches and live coverages. Hope you enjoyed the stream today and we could make your viewing experience providing some little deeper insight to this mission. Once again, thanks for watching. This is AstroYonder Live and me Dipto signing off for now, and we will see you soon.